Most men look calm when life is predictable. They look composed when nothing important is on the line. But the moment reality stops obeying their script, one accusation in public, one serious mistake exposed, one person suddenly turning against them, you see how they crumble. The pupils widen, the breath shortens, the voice speeds up or cracks, and the mind switches from strategy to panic. In that exact moment, nobody is really listening to their logic. Everyone is reading their weakness. I knew a gentle giant once. He was the kindest boy, very strong and very emotional. Slightly older than us, but still within the age group. The kids in the area always knew how to push his buttons and get him to lose his composure and act out. I always advised him that emotional leakage was his #1 enemy, but he never learned to stay silent and slow his reactions. Had he given the kids enough time between their mocking and his response, they would have left him alone and moved on to an easier target. And you see the same pattern in grown men. Different setting, same game. At work, it's the guy who always gets baited into defending himself in front of the team. In relationships, it's the man who sends long paragraphs trying to correct how she sees him. Online, it's the one who argues with strangers in the comments. The common thread is simple. Other people learn that if they press the right button, he'll leak. And once they've seen that, they never forget where the button is. In my experience, that is where most men lose. Not when something goes wrong, but when their nervous system announces to the world, I'm not in control. My fear is, and you show what you shouldn't. But like I promised you at the end of the last video, observation is only half the weapon. The other half is control. This is Sigma Cold Mind, men who don't crack under pressure. Over the next 39 minutes, we are going to build a new identity. The man who remains calm under chaos, when the room turns hostile, when the pressure spikes, when life pulls the rug from under him. You will learn mental switches to stop emotional leakage, tactics to stay unshakable when you're provoked, simple protocols you can use instead of panic, and daily ways of living that turn chaos into information, not into a personal apocalypse. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "Men in general judge more by the eye than by the hand, because it belongs to everybody to see you, to few to touch you." People don't need to know your heart. They judge what they see, especially under pressure. If what they see is a man whose state collapses when challenged, it doesn't matter how good his intentions are. If what they see is a man who stays measured when he has every reason to panic, everything changes. If that's the kind of man you want to become, stay with me until the end. And while you're listening, if these Sigma episodes have been hitting you, Sigma Silence, Sigma Rebellion, Sigma Intelligence, Sigma Observer, and now Sigma Cold Mind, make sure you're subscribed. This series is designed to stack, and you do not want gaps in the foundation you're building. Now let's get into it. Rule 1, see the real enemy, emotional leakage. Most men misdiagnose their problem. They think they have anger issues, anxiety, or a bad temper. On the surface, that might be true, but deeper than that, the real problem is leakage. A situation hits. Your boss questions you in a meeting. Someone disrespects you in front of others. Your partner accuses you of something that feels unfair. Before your conscious mind even wakes up, your body fires. Heart pounding, heat in the face, tight chest, rush of thoughts. If you don't control what happens next, your nervous system takes over your behavior. You talk too fast, you repeat yourself, you over-explain your intentions, you raise your voice a little higher than normal, you say more than you need to say. Every sentence is a leak that says, "You got to me. You pulled me out of my frame." Machiavelli said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Under chaos, what people see is not your ideals or your backstory. They see whether you leak or not. They see whether your emotions own you. The Sigma Cold Mind starts with one brutal but powerful acceptance. Your body will react. You are not going to erase adrenaline. You are not going to reach some mystical state where you feel nothing when your reputation, money, or relationships are on the line. But from now on, that does not give you permission to leak. Your new standard is this: my feelings can spike, but my behavior stays deliberate. You are separating the internal storm from the external movement. Inside, you can have pressure, anger, fear. Outside, you move like you decided this before the day even started. That gap between what you feel and what you show is where the cold mind is born. If you pay attention this week, you'll see your own leakage patterns in real time. Maybe your voice always jumps half a tone higher when you feel cornered. Maybe you start talking faster. Maybe you smile or laugh slightly when you're actually angry. None of these make you evil, but they make you readable. And in a world where power often comes down to who is more readable and who is more opaque, that matters. Your first mission is not to feel nothing. Your first mission is to stop broadcasting everything. Rule 2, slow the frame when the room speeds up. Now we put your first layer of control on top of that standard. You're in a room, things are tense, a decision is being reviewed. Suddenly, someone with status says, "Honestly, I don't think we can trust you with this kind of responsibility." The air changes, heads turn, you feel it instantly. Old you reacts at the speed of fear. "That's not fair. Let me explain. Here's everything that happened." You start talking at the same speed the attack came in. You match their urgency. The faster you talk, the less power you have. From now on, you do something different. Under pressure, you slow the frame. Your protocol is simple. The moment you are put on the spot, you pause for 2 seconds. You breathe in through your nose and out through your nose once, and you let the silence exist without scrambling to erase it. From the outside, it looks like you're thinking. From the inside, something far more important has happened. You've cut the cable between stimulus and automatic reaction. You've bought yourself decision space. Machiavelli advised rulers to be prudent, to act neither too timidly nor too rashly, but to consider the moment and move when it truly serves them. Rashness under pressure gets you killed in politics and in life. Those 2 seconds of silence are your first act of political intelligence in every conflict. Practically, I want you to test this over the next 7 days. Anytime you feel triggered, an email, a tone, a comment, an accusation, force a 2-second delay before you respond. It will feel unnatural at first, but you will notice something. People read it as confidence, not weakness. And you will feel something else. The first taste of being the one who chooses the move instead of being yanked by emotion. If you want to make this even more automatic, rehearse it in low-stakes situations. When the barista gets your order slightly wrong, when a friend interrupts you, when a colleague takes longer than you like to answer a question, use those as training grounds. You're not angry at them, you're training you. 2 seconds, 1 breath, then a measured response. That way, when high-stakes pressure comes, your nervous system isn't trying something new. It's doing what it's done 100 times before. If you've already seen yourself react too fast in the past, lock this in. While you listen, tap like. Not to flatter the channel, but to signal to this platform that there are men who want to learn slow, deliberate power, not just fast entertainment. Now that you've slowed the frame, we deal with the second enemy, the story in your head. Rule 3, kill the story before it hijacks you. When chaos hits, your body isn't the only thing reacting. Your mind starts narrating. You get criticized and your brain rushes to, "They're all turning on me." You get bad news and you think, "Everything is falling apart." Someone pulls away and the voice says, "I was never enough." Those are not facts, those are stories. And stories create emotion. Emotion drives behavior. If you don't question the story, you don't control the behavior. The Sigma cold mind uses the observation skills from Sigma observer, but turns them inward. Instead of only reading other people, you start reading yourself. Your new silent habit under pressure is, what story am I telling myself right now? Not, why are they doing this to me? Not, how do I make them see I'm right? First, what movie is playing in my head? Maybe the story is, if I don't defend myself, they'll think I'm weak. Maybe it's, if I admit fault, I'll be humiliated. Maybe it's, I always lose in situations like this. Once you see it as a story, you create distance. You can say, That's one interpretation. Is it useful? Ripping illusions away from rulers. He wrote that men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, covetous, not to be pessimistic, but to force leaders to stop living inside romantic stories. In the same way, you must stop living inside emotional fiction during conflict. So you replace the story with a cold question. What is actually at stake in the next 5 minutes? What response strengthens my position next week? What move keeps my power, even if I don't win this argument emotionally? That question pulls you out of victim mode. You go from why me to what now? You go from self-pity to strategy. Next time you feel overwhelmed, try this. Do not fight the feeling. Instead, name the story. Then choose a behavior that serves your long-term position, not your short-term pain. That is how you kill story-driven chaos at the root. Over time, you'll notice that your stories have a theme. Some men always default to, I'm under attack. Others default to, it's my fault, I ruin everything. Others go straight to doom. This always happens to me, it will never change. Once you see your default story, you can predict your own emotional reactions before they even start. And when you can predict them, you can pre-write a better script. That's the real power here. Not pretending you don't have stories, but becoming the author instead of the actor. Rule 4, replace raw emotion with prepared protocols. Here's the reality. You will not be creative when you're flooded with adrenaline. You will not come up with the perfect line when your heart is hammering and your reputation feels on the line. That is why professionals don't rely on creativity under pressure. They rely on protocols. Pilots have checklists. Soldiers have drills. Surgeons have procedures. They're not improvising when the room goes critical. They execute. You need your own set of simple, social, and psychological protocols. Take a common situation. Someone hurls a vague character attack at you. You're selfish. You never listen. You just don't care. The old version of you rushes into a speech. That's not true. What about all the times The more you argue, the more guilty you appear. The cold mind version of you has pre-decided responses. You do not defend your entire character. You do not argue about your soul. You respond with short, stable lines like, that's how you see it. You're entitled to your opinion. If you want to talk specifics, we can talk specifics. Short, calm, controlled. You've signaled, your words don't drag me into a performance. Now think about the public competence challenge. Do you even know what you're doing? First, you run the 2-second pause. Then you ask, be specific, or explain exactly what you mean. You're forcing them into clarity. Many attacks die when they have to become precise. Machiavelli wrote that a wise ruler must learn the art of being not good and to use this and not use it according to necessity. Translate it for you, you must learn the art of not always defending, not always justifying, not always explaining. Sometimes necessity demands a short, cold line, not a long apology. I want you to choose one recurring situation in your life. Maybe it's blame at work, emotional guilt at home, or someone constantly questioning your seriousness. Write down 3 short responses you will use next time. Practice them once out loud. Then, when the moment comes, don't improvise, execute. Rule 5, turn silence into pressure instead of a punishment. Silence in conflict terrifies most people. After something tense is said, that empty space feels like a burning spotlight. To escape it, they start talking, softening their position, over-explaining, apologizing just to make the discomfort end. The Sigma cold mind does not run from silence. It turns silence into pressure that works in your favor. When someone throws a provocative line and then stares at you, you do not rush to fill the gap. You hold eye contact. You breathe. You let 2 or 3 seconds pass. Inside, your body might be screaming, say something, but you don't obey it. You let them sit in the echo of their own words. In that quiet, their mind often starts working against them. They might feel they've overstepped. They might feel unsure. They might start clarifying or softening without you saying a word. You also use silence after you speak. When you say no, or that's not accurate, or we'll handle it, you stop. You don't nervously add, if that's okay with everyone. You don't shrink it with a joke. The lack of extra words makes your statement heavier. Machiavelli understood the power of appearance and mystery. He knew that a prince who reveals everything about his thinking becomes predictable and weak. Silence preserves your mystery. It makes people wonder what you're thinking instead of letting them dissect every emotional leak. This week, test yourself in one conversation that starts to heat up. Choose one moment to hold silence for a couple of beats longer than feels comfortable. Before you answer or after you answer. You will feel the pressure, but you will also feel that you're no longer the one trying to escape it. You're the one applying it. When you finish this video, if this idea of using silence instead of running from it has hit you, drop a quick comment. I don't feel every silence anymore. That sentence alone separates you from who you used to be. Now let's put all of this into a real hostile scenario. Rule 6, walk through the hostile room without leaking. Imagine a high-stakes meeting. A project has crashed. Money was lost. Reputation is on the line. Your name is attached to a key decision. The room is tense. Someone with influence looks at you and says, "To be honest, after this, I don't know if we can trust you with this level of responsibility." You feel the surge, shame, anger, defensiveness. Old you jumps in. "That's not fair. Here's what really happened. I tried to..." The more you talk, the less anyone respects what you're saying. The cold mind runs the sequence. First, slow the frame. 2 seconds, 1 breath, no words. Second, kill the story. Instead of, "They're destroying me," you think, "The game here is how reliable I appear under fire. That's all." Third, run protocol. You meet their eyes and say calmly, "Be specific. What exactly concerns you?" Now they have to bring facts into the open. Maybe they list missed deadlines, poor communication, bad judgment. When any of it is real, you do not fight reality. You say, "You're right about X, that's on me. Here's what I'm changing." Short, clear, no groveling. If they cross the line into exaggeration or personal attack, you're just not serious. You never have been. You anchor. That's an interpretation. The sequence was A, B, C. I own this part. The rest isn't accurate. Still calm, still short. Your body language supports your mind. Posture upright, hands still or minimally engaged, voice slower and slightly lower than normal. You are not performing as the accused. You're operating as someone reviewing facts. Machiavelli said a ruler must avoid being despised. He should appear resolute, even when circumstances are unstable. In that room, your composure is your resolution. People might not like you, but they will register that you don't fold. Do this a few times in your life and something shifts. People think twice before trying to publicly humiliate you, not because you explode, but because you don't give them the emotional payoff they're used to. You don't leak. Rule 7, contain emotional war in your personal life. The hardest chaos is rarely professional. It's personal. Breakups, family betrayal, friendships turning into cold silence, smear campaigns in your close circle. These are the storms that turn hardened men into someone they don't recognize. Sending long, pleading messages, posting emotional outbursts, begging for closure from people who have already made up their mind. The Sigma cold mind doesn't mean you don't feel the hurt. It means you don't let the hurt choose your moves. When a personal bomb drops, an ugly message, a confession, a blindsiding betrayal, you do not treat your phone like a weapon. You enter crisis containment. Step 1 is distance from instant reaction. You switch off push notifications. You move your phone out of reach. If you absolutely must respond, you send one line, "I've seen this. I'll respond tomorrow." No explanations. You are buying time for your nervous system to calm. Step 2 is body regulation. You need to move the shock physically. That might be walking for an hour with no music, hitting a hard workout, taking a cold shower, driving in silence. The point is to get your body to stop screaming so your brain can think. Step 3 is writing, not sending. You open a document or notebook and you pour everything out, all the anger, pain, confusion. You say everything there that you want to say to them. Then you save it or destroy it. It stays with you, not with them. Only after you have slept and your state has dropped from explosion to heavy but manageable do you decide your moves. You ask, what do I want my life to look like a year from now? What response supports that? What response only feeds my ego today and damages me long term? Machiavelli advised that if a ruler must injure a man, he should do it in such a way that he need not fear revenge. Applied to you, this means don't lash out lightly. Don't send small, sloppy, emotional blows. Either hold your line or act in a cold, measured way that you can live with later. In my experience, the men who regret their reactions the most aren't proud of what was done to them. They're ashamed of what they did to themselves in response. Screenshots of desperate messages, reputation damage from emotional outbursts, bridges burned that never needed to be set on fire. The cold mind doesn't promise you'll never hurt. It promises you that when you look back in a year, you'll respect how you moved in the middle of that hurt. You will still feel pain, but you won't be the man who burns his own future down in the middle of it. Rule 8. Treat life collapse like a battlefield, not a funeral. Now go even bigger. Total life disruption, losing a job, business collapsing, a major financial hit, visa rejected, reputation damaged, entire plans evaporating in a week. These are the moments when many men write a permanent story about themselves. I'm done, I'm cursed, I always lose. Then they either freeze or they quietly self-destruct. The Sigma cold mind doesn't romanticize these moments, but it doesn't treat them as the end either. It treats them like a battlefield, brutal, but still a place where decisions matter. First, you run triage. You ask, what do I need to stabilize the next 30 days? You list actual numbers, not emotions. Rent or mortgage, food, essential bills, obligations you cannot walk away from. Then you cut luxuries ruthlessly. Subscriptions, impulse spending, anything that isn't necessary. Not out of shame, but out of discipline. Second, you separate reality from catastrophe fantasies. Your mind will paint dramatic images. You'll be homeless. You'll be alone forever. You'll never recover. You sit down and write facts. I lost X. I still have Y skills. I have Z connections. I have ABC possible paths. You might not like those options, but seeing them kills the lie that you have none. Third, you install a minimum standard day. One action for income or rebuilding. One action for your body. One action for your mind, every single day. That might be messaging someone who could open a door, applying for something, building a small offer, training hard, reading something that upgrades you. The point is that you prove to yourself daily, I am still a man who moves. Machiavelli wrote that fortune governs half of our actions, but leaves the other half, or close to it, to us. That philosophy is cold realism. Fortune might have smashed half of your plans. The other half, your choices now, are still in your hands. Many men look back and realize their strongest, sharpest qualities were forged during these collapses. Not in the years of comfort, but in the seasons where their cold mind had to carry them through. Rule 9. Train the cold mind with deliberate discomfort. You do not become calm under chaos by listening to a single long video and agreeing with it. You become calm because you have trained your nervous system to meet discomfort instead of running from it. One of the simplest training tools is micro-discomfort. One deliberate act each day that your softer self doesn't want to do. It could be a cold shower at the start of your day. It could be making that phone call you've been postponing for weeks. It could be entering a room first instead of hovering in the background. It could be sitting down to do the hardest piece of your work while your brain is begging for distraction. The size of the discomfort matters less than the pattern. I feel resistance and I move anyway. You also practice holding tension instead of escaping it. That might mean maintaining relaxed, steady eye contact when someone is mildly annoyed, rather than looking away or joking it off. It might mean using the 2-second pause in a conversation where you feel accused, instead of instantly justifying yourself. It might mean reading a message that triggers you and deliberately not responding for a few hours. Machiavelli said that in times of peace, a prince must train for war. He should hunt, exercise, and study the terrain so he is never unprepared when conflict comes. Your micro discomforts are your hunt. They are training in days that feel normal, so you are not shocked when life stops being normal. You can even score it if you want to stay honest with yourself. At the end of each day, ask, did I do at least one thing today that my weaker self wanted to avoid? If the answer is yes, that day counted. If the answer is no, don't spiral. Just make tomorrow heavy. 2 or 3 discomfort reps instead of 1. This turns discipline from a vague trait into something you can actually measure. If you are still here, still listening and absorbing instead of flicking away, that already separates you from most. You are choosing long-form pressure over short-form escape. Make that choice concrete. Subscribe now, because the next videos in this Sigma series will build on the mind you are actively training here. Now we sharpen your speech to match your state. Rule 10, speak less, carry more weight. A huge part of staying calm under chaos is controlling what comes out of your mouth. Most people bleed their state through their words. Under pressure, they talk too much, explain too much, apologize too much. They try to talk their way back into feeling safe. The Sigma cold mind flips that. You speak less and make each word carry more. It starts with answering only what was asked. If someone says, "Did you finish that report?" the answer is, "Yes, it's done," or "No, it'll be done by 5." Not, "Sorry, I was going to, but then this came up and I was thinking." You don't volunteer extra justification unless it serves a clear purpose. You then cut habitual apologies. You stop beginning every input with, "Sorry, can I just say something?" Or, "Sorry, this might be stupid, but..." You switch to, "Quick question," or "One thought to add." Neutral, calm, no shrinking. You also harden your sentence endings. You stop saying, "I kind of think maybe we should try this," if that makes sense, and start saying, "The best move is this," or "We should do this next." You are not barking. You are simply not bending your words into a question mark every time you speak. Machiavelli emphasized that a prince must maintain an image of resolve. Half of power rests on how you appear. If your words constantly soften, hedge, and apologies, people feel that you lack inner command, even if your ideas are strong. As a test, think about the last argument or tense conversation you had. If your words had been recorded, how many sentences would you cut out as unnecessary? Next time, go into similar situations with a mental challenge. I will say half as much, twice as carefully. You'll feel the difference. So will everyone else. Rule 11, outplay manipulators with calm frames. Not all chaos is loud. Some of the most dangerous chaos you'll face is subtle. Emotional manipulation, guilt games, gaslighting, social pressure. Without a cold mind, you end up defending yourself against accusations that are deliberately vague, or bending yourself to please people who don't respect you. The Sigma cold mind handles manipulators by mastering frames. First, you refuse their frame. When someone says, "You're so sensitive," and you respond, "I'm not sensitive, you've already accepted that sensitive is the topic. You're in their frame. The cold alternative is, "That's not what this is about. We're talking about specific behavior or situation. Let's stay there." Calm, not emotional. You drag the conversation back to something you can actually examine. Second, you demand specifics. Manipulators live in words like everyone, always, never. Everyone thinks you're being difficult. You always do this. No one trusts you. Your response becomes, "Who exactly?" or "What exactly did I do?" When there is truth, it can be named. When there isn't, the other person either backs down or exposes their own exaggeration. Third, you delay pressured decisions. Manipulators push for instant answers. Tell me now. Decide now. If you don't answer now, it means you don't care. Your cold response is, "I'll think about it," or "I'm not making that decision right now." You don't explain. You don't justify the pause. You take time because time is power. Machiavelli famously said, "A prince must learn to be both a lion and a fox. A lion to frighten wolves, a fox to recognize traps." The lion in you sets boundaries. The fox in you refuses vague frames, demands detail, and uses time as a shield against manipulation. Over time, people who depend on fog and pressure will either adapt or drift away. They don't enjoy dealing with someone who sees through the game and won't let his emotions make the moves. Rule 12. Build a daily cold mind system. Everything you've heard so far, slowing the frame, killing the story, running protocols, using silence, containing personal war, treating collapse as a battlefield, training discomfort, sharpening your speech, outplaying manipulators, needs a structure around it, or it will fade. You need a simple system that makes the cold mind part of your day, not just part of this audio. In the morning, before your phone, you give yourself 5 to 10 minutes. You sit or stand in silence. You breathe slowly through your nose. Then you set one intention for the day, out loud if possible. Today, I respond slowly. I don't chase, I don't over-explain, I watch first. That single line tunes your mind the way you tune a weapon before going into the field. During the day, you look for places to apply the 2-second rule and your protocols. Each time you feel a spike of emotion, someone cuts you off, sends a sharp message, questions you, you practice. Pause, breathe, question the story, then either answer with a prepared line or choose silence. Each one of these moments is a rep. You don't need a gym to build this muscle. You need awareness. You also keep your daily discomfort rep. One act that your weaker self wants to delay. The workout, the focused work block, the awkward conversation. Each time you do it, you are quietly teaching your nervous system that it answers to you, not the other way around. In the evening, you run a quick review. You ask, where did I stay cold under chaos today? And where did I leak? No self-hate, just honest analysis. Next time I'll pause earlier. Next time I'll use this line instead of explaining. Machiavelli believed that a prince's fortune depended as much on his habits as on events. How he trained, what he studied, how he prepared in quiet times. Your habits are your private kingdom. If they are undisciplined, your mind will crack when the pressure comes. If they are tight, your mind has a fortress to stand in. If you're someone who likes to see things on paper, you can even turn this into a simple weekly log. 7 short lines. Morning intention, done or not. Discomfort rep, done or not. Evening review, done or not. No essays, no journaling marathons. Just a record that you either kept your word to yourself or you didn't. Machiavelli understood that power is often about consistency of action over time, not dramatic single moves. Your log is proof, to you, that you are slowly becoming that consistent man. Over weeks and months, this simple system, morning intention, daytime reps, evening review, does something subtle but huge. It changes who you are under pressure. Chaos still comes, but instead of pulling you apart, it reveals what you've been building. Rule 13, use your body as a manual override. There's one more lever you can pull when chaos hits, your body. You can't always think your way out of a flooded nervous system, but you can often move your way out. 3 simple switches: unclench your jaw, drop your shoulders, and slow your exhale. That combination alone sends a different signal back to your brain. We are not in immediate physical danger. Your thoughts might still be racing, but your body is starting to stand down. You can even do this in the middle of a conversation without anyone noticing. While someone is talking, you quietly relax your jaw, let your shoulders fall a little, and lengthen your out-breath by 1 or 2 seconds. Nobody sees the adjustment, but they feel the result. Your voice comes out steadier, your face looks less strained, your timing slows down. Machiavelli wrote that a prince should avoid those things which make him hated or contemptible. Panicking visibly under pressure does both over time. Training your body to relax on command doesn't just feel better. It protects how you are perceived when it matters most. Next time you feel the surge, don't just ask, what am I thinking? Also ask, What is my body doing? Then change it on purpose. Unclench, drop, slow. You're teaching your nervous system that you, not the chaos, decide the state. Bringing it all together. And what comes next? Chaos is not going to disappear from your life. People will still test you, judge you, provoke you, underestimate you, betray you, compete with you. Plans will still fall apart. Life will still throw punches you never saw coming. The question is not, how do I make life calm? The question is, who am I when life is not calm? Sigma Cold Mind is your answer. You have learned to slow the frame when everyone else speeds up. You have learned to catch and kill the story before it hijacks your behavior. You have learned to replace raw emotion with simple protocols. You have learned to use silence as pressure, not as punishment. You have learned to contain personal war instead of spilling it into every message and every call. You have learned to treat life collapse like a battlefield where your decisions still matter. You have learned to train your nervous system with daily micro-discomfort. You have learned to speak less and make each word heavier. You have learned to outplay manipulators with frames, specifics, and time. You have learned to use your body itself as a manual override when chaos hits. And you have a daily system to make all of this real. Machiavelli wrote that fortune favors the bold, but boldness without preparation is suicide. This cold mind you're building is preparation. You are preparing to walk into any room, any conflict, any disaster, and remain yourself. Now remember what I said at the end of the last video. Observation is only half the weapon. Control is the other half. With this episode, you've installed that second half. But there is still one more piece you need if you want to become truly dangerous in the best way. Being calm under chaos is not enough if the rest of your life is lazy, undirected, and leaking potential. The real test of a Sigma is not just who he is in crisis, but what he does when no one is watching. That's exactly where we're going next. The next episode in this Sigma series is called Sigma Discipline, Ruthless Systems, No Mercy for Your Weaker Self. In that session, we're going to take this cold mind and weld it to structure. We'll build daily systems that make discipline automatic. We'll kill procrastination without needing hype or fake motivation. We'll design routines that survive stress, boredom, and setbacks. We'll make sure your calendar, your habits, and your actions finally match the man you claim you want to be. If you want that, do 3 things right now while this is fresh. Subscribe so you don't miss Sigma Discipline when it drops. Like this video so this platform knows there are men who prefer hard truth over sugar. And in the comments, write 1 sentence about the kind of man you choose to be under chaos. It doesn't have to be poetic. It can be as simple as, I keep my mind cold and my moves deliberate. You've learned to observe. You're learning to stay calm under chaos. Next, we forge the daily discipline that makes all of this visible in your real life. Sigma Cold Mind, calm under chaos. You're not just listening to this, you're becoming it.
If you haven't already, support our channel with a like, comment, and a subscribe. And we will see you in the next session.